Good morning, meteorologist Johnny Lively here to take a look at our Thursday forecast sponsored by HB Neal Construction. We slide over to the radar sponsored by Dana Simmons Real Estate. We can see that there are some isolated showers offshore starting to move into the High Island and Galveston area really in the next hour. A lot of the shower activity that we're going to see is going to be 10% coverage, mainly over the coastal regions, very similar to what we're seeing right now later on this afternoon. Here's a satellite and radar. Notice it's quiet across the state of Texas, Louisiana, really the majority of the South. It's offshore that we're seeing some of those showers starting to push towards the coastal regions in the next couple of hours. We'll see 10% coverage not only in the next hour, but later on this afternoon. Overall, hot and dry day is expected, but we can see at least one coastal shower or two along the coastal regions. Here's our water vapor imagery. Notice in the mid to upper levels, we still have that yellow and gold and brown. That is dry air that is really all across the south, but you can see offshore there's some of that brown, or I say darker shades get into the green. That is just enough moisture on the lower levels that we're seeing a shower. This is thanks to our sponsor of Switch Electric that we can show you this. We also can show, thanks to Switch Electric, the 24-hour temperature change. So looking at yesterday morning versus today, we are 10, 11 to 12 degrees warmer than we were. Unfortunately, we are waving goodbye to the cooler and somewhat colder temperatures that we dealt with, and we're getting back to the warmer, more humid starts. But that's typically what we see this time of year. We will be welcoming, hopefully, some more cold fronts later on this month. Here's the temperatures across the United States. Not too bad. Denver at 64, Wichita at 66, Dallas at 69, and down here locally into southeast Texas, we are mainly into the upper 60s further to the north. Along the I-10 corridor ranges from the low 70s into the mid to upper 70s, like Houston at 77 degrees. Beaumont's a little bit cooler than everybody else along the I-10 corridor at 69, 70 degrees. Lake Charles at 73, Jennings at 72, down towards the coast into the upper 70s. Here's our construction and outdoor forecast for today. Mainly a hot and dry day, but an isolated shower or two is possible along the I-10 corridor and down towards the coast. We have just enough moisture to at least give us a shower, but overall today is a dry day, so any outdoor activities that you have should not be an issue. Thanks to our sponsor of Modern Concrete and Material, we can give you that construction outdoor forecast. Looking at our upper level low, we can see we've got this high pressure ridge starting to set up over the overall state of Texas. This is keeping us dry, and this doesn't just stick around today and tomorrow. You can go all the way into the weekend. We really keep that ridge hanging around our region. So little to no rain is expected. If we do have any rain, the coverage should be less than 10% almost every single day. This is typically our wettest month, but with this type of pattern that we're in, it's going to be really hard to come by seeing some widespread showers and storms. It's going to be very isolated. Here's the atmospheric moistures. Thanks to our sponsor of Neutron Electric, we can show you there is a little bit of green in our area. That gives us the 10% coverage, but look at the overall background. Lots of yellow, lots of gold in our region. That is just the overall area that we're seeing, just lots of dry air. And look how far it gets into the Gulf. This is something that you would see in October, this much dry air getting into the Gulf. But we see some specks and a little bit of rounds giving us some moisture, and that's what brings us to our future cast sponsored by Do Good Credit Union. You can see there's the potential for at least a couple isolated showers, mainly from the I-10 corridor down to the coast later on this afternoon. We get into Friday, we have another little wave of moisture that comes in, which likely will give us another round of 10% coverage. But really today, tomorrow, and really the next 5 to 7 days, little to no rain is expected. If you do get rain, it's just going to be a quick shower. Majority of the region is going to be hot and dry, and that's what we're going to be seeing. As we get into Saturday afternoon, same thing as well too. Another round of 10% coverage can be possible. We have just enough moisture to give us at least a quick little shower. Overall temperatures should be into the low 90s. Some areas could get close to the mid 90s. Down towards the coast will be into the mid to upper 80s. Overnight lows, unfortunately, they're a little bit warmer than what they have been the last couple of days. Up there further to the north from D. Ritter to Lufkin to St. Augustine will be in the upper 60s to low 70s. The I-10 corridor should be into the low 70s to mid 70s. That's when you get down to the coast, you start seeing the upper 70s to 80s. There is a new area to watch in the tropics. This currently is over Africa. We will watch this tropical wave get into the Atlantic in the next couple of days. Lots of dry air in this region. We've talked about that, and we said we'll continue to watch these waves. But overall, the background in the tropical Atlantic is unfavorable. We will watch and see how this develops really the next 5 to 7 days. Going to be battling a lot of that dry air, and we can see the Saharan dust that's really in the overall background of the tropical Atlantic. There's lots of it. Maybe it can find a window of opportunity to get its act together sometime next week. But if we look at the future cast on this, the upper level pattern really suggests that This will be something that will slowly try to develop, not going to be anything that's fast. And if it does attempt to develop this pattern right now, how everything is shutting down the Gulf, lots of wind shear in the Gulf, lots of dry air in the Gulf, we see that there could be a window of opportunity that this system would just go out to sea, just like the other systems that we've seen. So I'm very skeptical if this really will develop, but even if it does, this should go out to sea and shouldn't be an issue. But we will keep an eye on it. But one thing's for certain, the Gulf is completely shut down the next 10, possibly 12 days. So much wind shear, so much dry air, very hostile environment for tropics. So we get into our 7-day forecast here in Southeast Texas. Again, little to no rain is expected. If we do have any rain coverage, it should be around 10% or less. We start getting a little bit warmer this weekend, close to 95 degrees. That's a little bit warmer than what we see this time of year. We actually should be into the low 90s, so we are a little bit warmer that we are. But overall, not a bad 7-day forecast, especially rain-wise. Same thing for Southwest Louisiana. We warm up a little bit this weekend and as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. But the biggest thing we're seeing, rain chances definitely are low. This is our wettest time period, and this next 5 to 7 days does not look that wet. Looks pretty dry. If you do get any rain, I guess you consider yourself lucky. So enjoy your Thursday. Thanks for tuning in to Gulf Coast Weather Solutions. Lucas will have our evening forecast later on this evening. If not, I will see you guys tomorrow on Friday morning, and we will have our Friday night football forecast included in there. Have a good Thursday.